Yeah, are you saying your wife taught you how to be a good father?
Absolutely. Absolutely. My dad is ex-military, retired police officer, NYPD. So he was more his way or the highway. You didn't get an explanation.
Tough guy.
Tough. But, it was from the time when it was the crack era. He had to be tough. He wanted me to be tough. He didn't explain why I had to be in the house at 9 o'clock. He didn't explain why I couldn't go to that party. He didn't explain those things. When I got older, I understood. He was,
Protecting you.
protecting me from the streets. My wife was a little different. She explains everything. She has patience. So if my daughter comes and says, "Hey, Dad, I want to go to the mall," and we don't think it's a good idea, I'm like, "No, why?" Because I said so. My wife is more like, "No, why?" Well, let me explain to you. At the mall, usually on Friday nights, you get a lot of teens, and sometimes it can be a lot of fights and violence. And I just don't want to put you into that, because you might not know what's going on, and things could happen. So let's not go to the mall on a Friday. Let's go Saturday morning, where it'll be a lot safer.
Yeah.
And the kids understand it, and it develops a trust that I really didn't get at first. But they trust mommy. They sit down and talk to mommy, because mommy doesn't look as a no, and I'm not gonna explain why. Mommy's gonna explain, and kids want the attention.
And you've learned to do that from her. Yeah.
Yes.
The Touré show. Okay, though. The Touré show. Okay, though.
That might be the best question I've ever been asked.
You're a phenomenal person. I mean, you legendary.
I am a fan of you, my brother.
DJ Envy from The Breakfast Club is here to talk about his new book, Real Life, Real Family, which he wrote with his wife, Gia, where they talk about raising 6 kids, having a marriage that is still fruitful for them, 2.5 decades into it. We talk about infidelity. We talk about raising kids. He goes deep into the real estate situation we all heard about. That crazy thing. He's super honest and open about what really happened there and what he feels about the situation. Amazing conversation with DJ Envy. Let's get into it. It's DJ Envy from The Breakfast Club, our very special guest in the building on Touré Show. You know how we got to start? We got a special guest in the building. That's how you always start. I always look for that. When I was on, you was like, we got a special guest. You don't always say it's a special guest.
Not all the time, but most of the time.
Most of the time, but sometimes I'm listening. He didn't say special guest. Where are we going now? But no doubt, you got a book with your wife.
That's right.
What's the name of the book?
Real Life, Real Family.
And you're talking about being a parent and being a husband. And dealing with 6 kids from 23 to 3?
23 to 3, yes.
They all live in the house?
All live in the house.
Now?
Yeah. Well,
you kicked the 23-year-old out?
Except one. One is in...
The 23-year-old moved on.
No, the 21-year-old goes to University of Miami, so he's in college. But besides that, they're all in the house.
Don't you want to kick them out? Aren't you sick of them?
I really enjoy it. My 23-year-old has her own place and has never lived there one day. She stays at my house with her boyfriend. They've been together about 2 years, and they live in the house.
Don't you want peace?
No.
No, I don't want the peace.
No, I actually enjoy it. Maybe it's for me. Me having every kid at the house and knowing where they are.
Yeah.
I love it. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I do.
What's the hardest part of parenting for you?
Time.
Finding time for them?
Finding individual time.
Yes. I have 2 children, and I would imagine having 6 kids, it would be very hard to have the time. I know what's going on with you and your academics, your sports, your social, and you. And I mean, you have to keep up with 7 people and be deep in the lives. That's a lot.
It is, but I try to find that individual time. So my daughters they dance, right? My 11-year-old and 8-year-old compete, travel.
What kind of
A little bit of everything: jazz, ballet, hip hop, contemporary. They do everything. So I travel a lot with them.
Okay.
So I'm always on the road. So that's why when I'm home and I'm not DJing and I'm not doing the Breakfast Club, I'm not doing interviews, I try to take individual time for each kid. So like today, my son is outside. After here, we're gonna go to the car show. Then I'm gonna, do some lunch with him to try to give him that individual time where he could talk to me about sports. He could talk to me about what's going on in school, what he's seen online, whatever it may be. So I try to do individual time with each child.
I asked you about your rules for parenting, and I appreciated that you said each kid is different.
Yes.
And some parents, but some non-parents are like, this is my rule for parenting. But each kid is going to respond differently at different times, different moments. You have to kind of improvise a little. I mean, you have principles, but you kind of got to figure out where are we going with each person.
Yeah, I mean, I tell everybody, we have 6 kids. The oldest is 23. And they all have different personalities. Yeah. No kid is the same.
It's crazy, right? And you don't really shape it. You be like, I don't know how you got to be like, I'm happy, but I don't know.
You don't know. And like I tell everybody, when your child is born, you don't get an instruction manual.
Right.
You just have to figure it out.
Yeah.
Like my 8-year-old, she's probably one of the best. When I say dancers, I always, and I hate when people say it, she's kind of like the Allen Iverson of dancers, right? Meaning Allen Iverson didn't practice, but was just that good.
Okay.
She practices, but she's just that good, but she moves to the beat of her own drum.
Okay.
If you say, come on, let's go, she's gonna take her time. And that's just who she is. She does that in school, and you just have to learn. She's not being disrespectful. That's just the way Brooklyn is. That's it.
That shit drives me nuts.
But you can get mad at it.
Come on, let's go. We gotta hurry up. Oh, now I'm moving slower.
Yes. You could say it's a fire in the house and we have to go. We're about to be late. It's just who she is. That's her personality. That's it. My other son, Jackson, when he learns, he likes to stand up and learn.
Okay.
He's fidgety.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that he's not as bright as any other kids. That's just the way he's wired.
Yeah.
And every kid is different. At first, I'm an only child, so I'm used to everybody having to be the same, but you realize that it's not like that at all. And I learned that from my wife.
Yeah. Are you saying your wife taught you how to be a good father?
Absolutely. Absolutely. My dad is ex-military, retired police officer, NYPD. So he was more his way or the highway.
Tough.
He didn't get an explanation.
Tough guy.
Tough. But, it was from the time when it was the crack era. He had to be tough. He wanted me to be tough. He didn't explain why I had to be in the house at 9 o'clock. He didn't explain why I couldn't go to that party. He didn't explain those things. When I got older, I understood. He was,
protecting you.
Protecting me from the streets. My wife was a little different. She explains everything. She has patience. So if my daughter comes and says, hey, Dad, I want to go to the mall, and we don't think it's a good idea, I'm like, no. Why? Because I said so. My wife is more like, no, why? Well, let me explain to you. At the mall, usually on Friday nights, you get a lot of teens. And sometimes it can be a lot of fights and violence. And I just don't want to put you into that.
Yeah.
Because you might not know what's going on and, things could happen. So let's not go to the mall on a Friday. Let's go Saturday morning where it'll be a lot safer.
Yeah.
And the kids understand it, and it develops a trust that I really didn't get at first. But they trust mommy. They sit down and talk to mommy because mommy doesn't look as a no, and I'm not going to explain why. Mommy's going to explain, and kids want the attention.
And you've learned to do that from her. Yeah.
Yes.
It makes a big difference. I think we definitely got a lot coming. We were about the same age. We got a lot of this is what I said. And now I think a lot of parents of our generation are like, how can we talk to the kids?
Correct.
I think that some Black parents think we should be tough because the world is tough.
Correct.
But some people feel like, no, home should be soft because the world is tough.
Right.
Right? And I think you think the home should be soft.
The home definitely should be soft. We have a mission statement that's on the back of the book. And one of the statements is, your home is a soft place to land. Your family is a soft place to land. Meaning, if there's anything going on, this is a no judgment zone. We can talk and have those discussions. We're going to tell you about the world. Like today, I was just walking with my son down, the street where I parked, and he got to see, people that were strung out on drugs. He got to see people that were homeless. Yeah. He got to see all of that, but he got it in a way that he can actually see and say, oh, well, this is what it looks like in New York City. This is what crime is. He's seen people selling bags and stuff outside. He's seen tourists. But the reason I wanted to bring it with me, besides we're going, is I wanted to see how the world is. It's difficult sometimes when I'm from Queens, I moved to Jersey, they live a different lifestyle and they don't actually get to see that.
Yeah.
So I want him to see that so he knows what he's going up against.
You said you hit them a little bit?
Pop.
There's no difference.
There is a difference.
Corporal punishment.
There is a difference.
You struck them with the intention of causing pain.
Scaring.
So then they would be hurt, so they would learn.
Because a lot of times it's not the pain, it's the sound, right? So like if I go, it sounds harder than it is. It didn't hurt me. It didn't leave a red mark. But that sound.
You're a grown man.
Same thing with the kids, though. But
they're not grown men. They're little kids.
Every child, except my last 3, has been popped one time. Only once, and it's always been in public.
You said you only hit the oldest 3 one time, and you haven't hit the youngest 3 at all.
Didn't have to.
I can't believe your wife doesn't have a rule about like we don't hit the kids.
No, it's always happened in public, where a kid has done something in public, a tantrum, or tried to show off in front of their kids, and it was one of those things. It had to be corrected right then and there, and we've never had an issue again. And like I told you, our younger kids learn from the oldest. So if the older kids are doing the things that they're supposed to be doing their homework, doing their chores, doing the things that they're supposed to do, the younger kids follow. So once you course correct the older kids, you never have an issue ever again.
I want you to listen to the episode that we did with Stacey Patton. I want you to have Stacey Patton on your show.
Mm-hmm.
This sister is brilliant. She's a professor, and she talks about corporal punishment and why it is wrong and how it is against what we did in Africa, and how children don't learn from us being from corporal punishment. They freeze and they're afraid rather than learning. Or you talk about talking to them. I don't know. It's a huge thing among us, and I think we got hit. Did you get hit?
No.
You didn't get hit?
I
got hit a lot as a kid.
I never got popped in my life. I got yoked up.
What does that mean? He
My
grabbed your
mother
neck?
No, not my dad. My dad never touched me. My mother would grab me by the collar and yoke me up like this. But my dad never touched me. But I was more fearful of my dad than anybody in this world. To this day, my dad is 81 years old, and I'm still fearful of that man. He's never popped me. He just always had that look. We've never had conversations about him hitting me or him doing physical, nothing like that. But I always were fearful. Now, when each child got popped, we had a conversation of why they were popped and the reason. We just didn't pop them and say, go sit in the corner.
Right.
We explained everything. And to every kid, they understood. But my dad never popped me. Not one time. My mother never popped me at all.
But I think it's counterproductive to be afraid of our parents. And
I was afraid.
Yeah, and you're still afraid.
Yeah, of course.
But that's not the optimal relationship.
No, of course. I mean, I'm not afraid, but I don't think my dad's going to come to the house at 83 years old and whip my ass.
Of course.
But, I was afraid as a child. But I also feel like, and I know this is, people will be like, oh, no, it's different times. What we had to grow up with in the 80s and 90s and 2000s, it's a lot different. I stepped out the house and it was crack vials. My zone school was the first school in America to have metal detectors.
What area in Queens?
Queens Village. So, Van Buren was my high school where LL Cool J took the picture in front of his car on there. But that was the worst school where my parents had to work 2 jobs to make sure that I was able to go to Catholic school so I wouldn't have to go to that school. My wife, we talk about it in our first book, got slashed 36 times on her face at age 15, waiting for the bus on Jamaica Avenue. 32 on her leg. So, my wife almost got kidnapped where they grabbed her and tried to throw her in a van. So this is what we grew up with in Queens. So my dad being strict and stern was a way of protecting me.
You and G go back to Queens.
Queens.
How long y'all been together?
We've been together 31 years, married 24.
That's incredible. Wow. Shout out to that. Yeah. If we had a button, we'd applause for that. 24 years married. That's incredible.
24 years.
How you keep it going?
I would say what everybody says, conversation, but not the typical conversation. Me and my wife have a different type of relationship.
Okay.
And when I say different, we are up under each other a lot more than most people are.
You're together more.
Yes, we speak all the time. When I go to work in the morning, 9 times out of 10, I'm speaking to her on the way to work. When we leave,
You going in at 5?
5 in the morning.
And you're talking to her?
I'm talking to her on the way. When I come home, I'm talking to her. Like, we are always, we do things separately, but we do things a lot. Like, when I go to DJ, a lot of times she's with me.
Right.
When we go out with couples or it's no girls' night out, we all go out together. Like, she is really my best friend. And her friends know that if you tell her something, she's going to tell me.
Right.
And my friends know if they tell me something, I'm going to tell her. Like, we have a real close relationship, a real close bond.
24 years married, you got to be able to deal with conflict resolution.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these women don't like saying, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
Maybe seeing TikToks of girls be like, I would rather die than say sorry to my man.
It happens a lot.
How is like, what do you guys do to resolve when one of you is upset with the other, especially when because it's easy when she's upset, we can listen and say, I'm sorry.
Right.
Right? When you're upset, she may like, well, that's fine that you feel. So how do you deal with that?
Well, the first thing is we never go to bed beefing, arguing, never. So, I mean, there's times where we have to talk it out to 3 in the morning and I got to be on air at 6 or 5:30 and we're speaking, we're talking. The main thing was breaking down our relationship and to see why. And I think the first reason was I used to right fight, meaning...
Right fight?
Right fight.
What does that mean?
Right fight meaning you're just trying to win an argument instead
of
understanding.
with the R, right. Yes.
That was my biggest problem.
I want to be right, yes.
Because my wife is I always call her an attorney, right? She's not an attorney, but when she argues, she has her facts. It's almost like she has these arguments in the stash and just pulls them out. You know, a lot of times I'm just, hey, what's up? Oh, we just thought it'd just be a random argument or random disagreement. But my wife has them sturdy, ready, like, you remember in 1962 when this happened? And then in 1938, this, I'd be like, whoa.
Yep.
So I would right fight, meaning sometimes I would make things up just to win an argument.
Oh, shit.
And that was the biggest problem because we weren't arguing to understand. We were arguing to win.
Yes.
And once we realized we need to understand each other because we are on the same team, we really didn't have arguments like that. We'd have disagreements. We'd go back and forth for what she thought, what I thought, and sometimes we agree to disagree or we'll, lean towards somebody else. And that made our relationship 1,000 times better.
Okay, so you dealt with something that a lot of couples have dealt with as far as infidelity. And I'm not saying anything that you talked about it on the radio. So it's already out there. And I don't want to rehash the specific story, but how did you guys deal with it? And because a lot of couples have had a guy comes home like, I cheated, or she finds out, and then some people stay together, some people break up. So how did you guys get through that?
The most important thing was honestly, and this always sounds cliche when I say it, was faith, right?
Okay.
And for people that don't know, I'll break down what happened. When my wife found out, it was over. She wanted to leave. There was no turning back. I tried everything. I mean, I was R&B singer outside in the rain singing. Nothing worked. My wife has a best friend. His name is Rashid. He's an attorney. He's also a pastor. Didn't like me at all. Didn't like...
From before,
just really didn't like me. Thought I was immature. Thought I was controlling. Thought I was very... what's the word I'm looking for? Didn't have the confidence I needed as a person and would take it out in our relationship. And I was. And I was very insecure growing up. But I think that started from me coming up. I had glasses and braces. I was short. I didn't get girls. I wasn't inexperienced. So now I have this beautiful, smart girl. I never wanted to lose it. I always felt like I wasn't good enough for her. And that went into the relationship. Obviously, I worked a lot on ourselves, worked a lot on our relationship to actually change that. But he called her one day and, we went through the whole thing of what happened and explained and, apologized. And he was there. He called her one day and was like, out the blue. And was like, I was praying on this. And this is the weirdest thing. He was like, God sent me a sign that you guys don't need to break up.
That you guys don't need to break up. He said that to her out of the blue.
He said that to her. Now, this is a man that did not like me.
Yes.
Didn't respect me and wanted me out.
And he was not asked to provide an opinion. He
just called. And my wife was like...
And he knew y'all were going through it.
Yeah. I think everybody did. It was on air. And my wife was like, okay, that's cool, but no, I'm out. And he was like, I'm telling you. He was like, matter of fact, I'm going to stop working today. He was an attorney. And I'm going to fly to New York and I'm going to stay with you guys because he was like, God has given me this feeling. He flew to New York.
And are you like, yes, please help me out?
I have no idea what's going on. At this point, my mind is going all over the place. I wanted to quit radio. I just wanted to just stay in a room by myself. I'm losing my everything. Tyrese, who I have no relationship with. The singer. Calls me one day. Says, hey, now, mind you, I've never told anybody what Rashid said. Called me and said, hey, I was praying and God told me to reach out to you to talk to your wife. Now, mind you, I don't know Tyrese. Other than him coming to the radio station and doing thing, I don't know him, nothing like that. He just happened to be in New York. and called me and said the same thing.
Interesting.
So I said, okay. So I put my wife on with Tyrese, and they started having conversations. And Tyrese and Gia, Rashid and Gia just started having conversations. We all just started having conversations. And it was the weirdest thing. It was the same sentiment that, Gia said, hey, send me a sign. Because right now we're going through it. We're talking, we're this, that, and the other. And pretty much said the same thing. Tyrese said, God gave me a sign to come talk to y'all because God doesn't want this relationship to be over.
You believed that?
Yeah.
Are you spiritual?
Yeah. Even more now.
Sure, you, because some people be like, I don't know what these guys are really talking about, but you're like, I believe that you are telling the truth.
Because both of these individuals, Rashid didn't like me. I had no relation to Tyrese.
So they had no...
And they were speaking in the same tongue, same terms, same sayings, and it was the weirdest thing ever. And they don't know each other. They never met. It was just the same identical talk.
So because Gia is getting the same spiritual message that resonates with her from two separate people, that helped her open up?
Open up a little bit, yeah.
To be like, maybe we can continue?
Yeah.
Did she demand like certain, or say like, we need these new boundaries, these new rules, whatever?
She didn't demand anything, but I gave her the new boundaries.
Okay.
And the new boundaries were everything consisting of, we have a phone-up relationship where my phone's on the counter, my wife could pick it up.
You say you have a phone what?
I call it a phone-up relationship.
Phone up.
Right. So if how some people put their phones face down, we have a phone-up relationship. My wife can go through my phone. My kids could go through my phone. My kids grab my phone. My phone's out there right now with my son. Like, there's nothing to hide. If I'm doing a show, if I'm out and about, if I'm in the club, whatever it is, my wife can say, I'm coming or I'm going. I wanted her to go. I invited her. I wanted her to go out. I wanted her to see the changed person that I was. And it took some time. And my wife has never went through my phone. She's never checked. She's never checked my phone records and nothing like that. And it's just a relationship that almost started over. It actually made us closer because we were able to talk about a lot of things that we weren't able to talk beforehand.
Yeah.
And that was about 15 years ago, 12 years ago.
We see that sometimes, that people get stronger out of it, out of the conversations that happen, out of that crisis, and they get more bonded. Did you make changes within yourself in that moment?
Absolutely. Changes within myself, changes with things that I did, changes with the people I hung out with. The main thing with me was, and this was insecurity, right? And
you did it because of insecurity.
Yeah. And I'll tell you why, and ego. I always grew up feeling like I wasn't good enough. Wasn't good enough at DJing, wasn't good enough at being a person, wasn't good enough at a lot of these things. You got to understand, like I said, I had glasses, braces, acne. I was short. I was 5'5" until I went from 5'5" to 6 foot. So I've never had girlfriends. I wasn't the guy that had tons of girls. And every time I tried to do something, I always felt second rate. So now when I'm in this industry and I'm starting to do good, everybody's coming to me and it's feeling good. Yeah. I'm feeling like the man now.
Yeah.
And I took advantage of that. But that was all insecurity and ego. It wasn't coming from a good place. It was coming from a egotistical place.
Yeah, yeah. That's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, I appreciate, too, the perspective you have on yourself. Are you in therapy?
No.
Because it sounds like, you spend a lot of time thinking about yourself and like these sort of things.
Absolutely.
Because you clearly did a lot of thoughtful reflection.
Yeah, and praying a lot more and being vulnerable. And I'll tell you what those two things have done. So in our first book, which is Real Life, Real Love, we talk about our relationship. We talk about all this in the book. It was so many things that I feel like as men, we don't ever talk about.
Yeah.
So the first thing that made me really insecure was, and it went viral, was me not being able to please my wife. So you got to think, me and my wife.
In the bedroom?
Yeah. Me and my wife have been together from 16 and 15.
Yeah.
We don't have conversations about sex with anybody. I know I haven't. We have the sex talk of what sex is, not to get pregnant.
Yeah.
But we don't have that talk. So for me, I'm sure like a lot of guys listening, we learned sex from watching porn.
Yeah. course.
And I thought that the way to please your wife is you pretty much jackhammer her for 30 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And that wasn't the case. So when we would have sex, she wouldn't be pleased from penetration. Now, from me going down on her, of course. One day we got into an argument and she told me, like, you're not pleasing me. I haven't came, I was faking it. And that's where a lot of the resentment came from.
You resented that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm not living
Because
up
I thought I was pleasing you. I thought I was the mandingo and you basically shot me down. And we had to go through that. And, you know, and I put it in the book because there's a lot of men that deal with it and a lot of women that deal with it. A lot of women don't say anything to their spouse.
That's right.
And I would tell you the amount of emails and DMs and conversations I got from women and men saying, you know, I didn't know anybody to talk to, and it's good because now we can have that conversation.
Yeah.
I had to learn my wife's body. I had to learn
Yes.
what sensuality is and sexuality and I had to learn. And I'm not ashamed to say that I had to learn that because now our sex life is amazing, but back then it wasn't.
Of course, we as men have to learn. Their sexual life is entirely different, right? We're immediately ready all the time. They need to be warmed up in a very particular way. And they needed to come through the ear as well as the eye.
That's
right.
right.
All these things, right? And I mean, even like, you really, like, if she just grabbed your dick, you'd be like, let's go.
Let's go right now.
If you touched her there, she'd be like, whoa.
That's right.
Like, we got to start here and then
That's
move
right.
down slowly, get
Ex-
close. They want to be teased, right?
Exactly.
Like, but we as men know, and porn does not educate us at all
No.
in a way that's going to help us be good lovers.
Yeah. And, you know, being vulnerable, of course, I got a zillion and one jokes.
Yeah.
But I didn't care about that. I cared about the fellas, the men, and the women that hit me and said, thank you. Like, we go on vacation, and so many women say, this book saved our relationship, saved our marriage.
Wow.
Because it just opens the door to have that conversation. It could be Envy and Gia spoke about this in their book, How Does It Feel? It just starts that conversation. So being vulnerable really helped. And what I was preaching to my kids, I needed to preach to myself. Meaning, you know, I always say, why do you care about what a comment says? Why do you care about this person? Care about what happens in this house and how it makes you feel. And I had to start standing on that. Like, I don't care what you say. Crack the jokes. I'm good in the house. I don't care about your comments. I don't care about your memes. I don't care about your whatever you say. What I care about is what happens in the house.
But you said things there that helped people's lives and helped their relationships. So even if these people who are too young to understand are making jokes, these other people are like, you really helped me.
Correct.
And like, I'll take 10 of those versus 100 of those. Like,
Yes.
you don't understand. You'll get there one day when you get older, be like, yo, what he said was real right there. Why? You guys are the Breakfast Club, the dominant show in this ecosphere of hip hop media. Why?
I think one, because we were very real, very honest. I think also we started at a time online when most people didn't. You got to think, when they put the Breakfast Club together, I always tell everybody what made sense was we were all side pieces, right? And when I mean side pieces,
Right. He was, right. Charlamagne was rocking with Wendy.
he was Wendy's sidekick.
Right.
I was Miss Jones's sidekick when she
Right.
did Hot 97, and Angela Yee was Cypher Sound's sidekick when he did Sirius Radio. So we never.
But Charlamagne is, he was, but he's not a sidekick. He's the star. He is a star.
Now, back then, he was Wendy's sidekick.
I know, and I did Wendy when he was the side.
Yeah.
When he is, in his heart, he is a star.
Absolutely.
And so as soon as he wasn't sitting next to Wendy, it was like, oh my God.
Absolutely.
Who is this person?
But you know, with Charlamagne, most people don't understand is let me put it like this. He never chases the stardom.
Right. No, he just is.
He just is.
He just is. He's
He just
funny.
is. And that's,
he's irreverent.
And that's what makes the show so great. You have three members that don't chase being the star. If it happens, it happens. Remember when Breakfast Club first started, I was the bigger name. And then everybody transcend into their respective role, and it takes from there. And there's never jealousy. We always want each other to win.
Yeah. Okay, what happened with Jess?
Well, Jess went online,
Yeah.
and she had some problems. She had some issues how she felt the show was handling her. And she was absolutely positively right. I don't love the way she handled it, but she was right. And when I mean she was right, you have Jess, you have Lauren, you have Charlamagne, and myself. We all have different roles.
Yeah.
Usually in radio, we have somebody that defines those roles. We know what each other's role is.
Yeah.
We know that this is Charlamagne's role. We know that this, and those roles weren't defined, and it made her feel away. But you got to feel
It wasn't defined for Jess.
It wasn't defined
because when it
for
was
Jess.
Angela, it was clear. This is what you do. This is what you do. This.
Correct.
What is your role when it was Angela? Was your role?
My role has always been the same. It's always been the driver, the captain. I steer the ship. And then we have different things. I'm the family man. I'm the DJ. I do the music. I do, generational wealth. It's the things that I do is my role. Charlamagne.
You're kind of like mellow.
Correct.
And I'm like, he's going to just be even and like, hey, and Charlamagne might come in and throw a bomb, might make a joke.
Correct.
Right.
I always say, like, if you think about like of a basketball team, I'm going to be the point guard. I'm dribbling the ball up the court. Let's say Jess or Angela at the time or Lauren, they might be the shooting guard. Pass it to them, they're going to shoot.
And Charlamagne's
going to dunk it. He's Dennis Rodman. He's going to grab the rebound. He's Draymond Green. He's going to stir some stuff up. And that's pretty much what the Breakfast Club is.
But so is Jess out?
No, Jess is not out. Jess is still good.
So she's still part. So even though all this happened, y'all gonna keep.
Yeah, we had a conversation. What we also have to realize is Jess grew up in the social media world. Jess's whole thing has been social media. She's never been afraid of social media. She's always dove into social media.
Yeah.
So nothing has changed. That's Jess.
Yeah.
But what we had to do was make sure that all of us together have a conversation and communicate so we never get on that page again. It was kind of weird, and I was upset with Jess because she went to social media, but that's Jess. That's my sister. I just didn't like the fact that she allowed the comments to piss her off. But we moved on, we passed, we've all spoke, and we're all in a great place. I love Jess, I love Lauren. Those are my sisters.
Remember what you asked me when I did your show?
What? What did I ask you?
Because I didn't know what was going to happen, right? Because you're definitely a little nervous going in there.
A lot of people are.
What are these motherfuckers going to ask me? And I don't know if you know, I know Angela socially from before she was famous, right? She's cool with Santi.
Yep.
Santi Gold, longtime friend of mine.
Yep.
So I would see them, like I knew her. I'm like, she's super nice. Charlamagne's going to punch me in the face. What's he going to say? And then Envy comes and be like, so how come you ain't pay your taxes 4 years ago? I'm like, this motherfucker, and I was late on my tax bill 4 years ago? And you know what? I'm like, this motherfucker. I'm like, Charlamagne's being nice. From Andrew, like, what? Did somebody tell you to ask that?
No, so for people that don't know the Breakfast Club, there's a zillion and one questions that we get, that producers send us, and then we all do our own homework.
Right.
And it's a give and pull, meaning, like, I always tell people get comfortable. And then when we make you comfortable, we ask a question that might be a little controversial.
Right.
Then when you get a little edgy, we make you comfortable again.
Right.
Then we ask you another question that might be a little conversational. And it just depends on how the conversation gets. Now with that, usually that would have been an Angela Yee question. But since y'all had a great relationship, she wasn't going to ask any questions like that.
Right.
So now a lot of times that gets thrown on me. Even when you look at sometimes when it's relationship issues and relationship questions, usually the woman in the room asks the relationship questions. But if they have a good relationship with the person, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to ask that question. But these are usually the questions that people want to know, that they've seen online.
Yeah.
So they don't come from nowhere. They, but we have to ask. Now, people don't have to answer. Sometimes people could just say, you know what? I'm working it out with the IRS and I can't have that conversation.
No, I know.
Right now.
I felt like that's your gotcha question for me, because that's an easy question. I mean, so many people are late with their taxes. I'm like, it seems the kind of thing like you should be embarrassed about it, but I'm like, I'm not really embarrassed about it.
It's just questions that we always ask. Like we do our Googles and make sure we try to leave no rock unturned.
I always look at the Birdman interview. Is that like that was an epic moment? And it's 45 seconds, right? Like
a minute 13 or something like that.
He barely sits down.
Yeah.
I mean, I just wondered, living through that moment is crazy.
Yeah. That was probably the biggest viral moment ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
For you guys.
For just anybody.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing about it, for like the first year, we never got credit for it. Because iHeart was against going on YouTube at first. So whoever clipped that first video and put it out, is so paid right now because he lived for a long time without us taking it down. And then once iHeart went to YouTube, we clipped it and still got, millions and millions and millions. But it was a weird day. Charlemagne, I was talking about Birdman a lot, and Birdman didn't like it.
Yeah.
And he wanted to pretty much stand in Charlemagne's face and say, "Don't play with my name."
Yeah.
And it was gold, radio gold.
It was definitely radio gold. Do you, a moment like that, I mean, he's a real gangster, at least he's connected to real gangsters. I mean, like, we talk to rappers all day long. Eventually, one of them's going to be like, fuck you. You worry about extra shit? Because Charlemagne dealt with it on the street once.
No, I wasn't worried about Birdman. And everybody asked that same question. Now, he had a bunch of artists with him. He had Rollo with him. He had Derez Deshawn with him. He had his artists. But his guys from New York that were behind me are my friends. So a lot of times when these rappers come to town and, they know they're New York gangsters and New York street dudes, I'm a real New Yorker.
Yeah.
So I know all of them.
Yeah.
I've done DJ'd the clubs. I've hosted the clubs. So I pretty much know every street dude and gangster. So I wasn't worried about that. That wasn't something that we were worried about.
All right, we got to talk about the real estate shit. And you were so open about the infidelity and everything. Cesar is about to be sentenced?
Caesar, yeah.
Excuse me, Caesar is about to be sentenced? How are you feeling right now? Because you weren't charged.
Was not charged.
Is that because you testified against him?
No. I never
They didn't
went to
ask
court.
you to testify against him? How did they not ask you to testify against him? Were you not his partner?
I was his partner when it came to seminars.
Okay.
So now this is the funny thing with Caesar. And I wish I had my phone so I can show you a note. The thing with Caesar is me and Caesar did seminars. That was it. That was
The
our business.
public-facing part. You didn't do business with him?
I did one building with him. That was me and him directly. Outside of that, when he was doing the things that he did on the side, I had no clue.
But
no idea.
When you guys are doing seminars talking about this stuff, didn't you say, I want to do this too?
What you mean?
Like we're telling people how to do these real estate deals?
No, the seminars were a way to tell people instead of spending money on jewelry, cars, and clothes, to invest your money in different things. So when we did the seminar, we brought people to the seminar to have conversations. Like we brought contractors. We brought auction.com, which was a site that people could actually buy houses from. We brought attorneys. We brought people. So you give people an outlook of what they can do in real estate. That was it. It's kind of like if you do a seminar based on doing radio.
Right,
you explain to people what radio is and what you can do in radio. That was it. It was just an encouragement for our people to think outside the box and not think bottles and jewelry and cars.
Okay.
That was it.
Do you now think that you were really providing a service for those people?
As far as thinking outside the box, absolutely.
As far as sometimes seminars are real and sometimes they're not. Do you now think like, yes, we were genuinely educating these people, or maybe
Absolutely.
not?
We were genuinely I mean, you're talking about 4 or 5 hours of not just myself or Caesar. You had so many different people speaking. I mean, you had contractors, you had attorneys, you had auction.com, you had so many different people. Because if you look at real estate is broke down to too many different angles. You had all these different people in these angles discussing what it is and what they people that need to do. Not as of going to those people, but just explaining what it is. When I bought my first house, when I was 23, my interest rate was 23%.
That's very high.
Because I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had nobody to talk to, no clue. And I tell people that in that seminar, what my first interest rate was and how people should go from bank to bank and shop to get the best interest rate.
Yeah.
That was it. There was no, well, I have to put money down to do this. There was no taking money or anything at the seminar. Once the seminar was over, I would take picture with a bunch of people that, quote unquote, consider themselves fans, and that was it. Outside of that, there was nothing more, nothing less.
If they thought that you had done something, they would have charged you.
Of course.
So, like, I just want to be clear, like, you were not charged.
Not at
so
all.
clearly the government did not. They did their investigation. You were standing next to him. They clearly looked at you, and they clearly were like, he didn't do the shit.
Correct.
You had no idea that he was
Not a clue.
shady?
Not even a clue.
So are you a victim?
Yeah,
How could he con you?
easily. He says envy. I have this building. I think it'll be a great investment. Do you want to jump in on it? And I'm like, how much? He tells me. I give him $500,000. I never received a quarter, dime, nickel, penny, or anything back. Never nothing back. That building still stands, and I know nothing about it.
You do see, because I come to the seminar because my man DJ Envy is there. And he says, this guy I don't know knows what he's talking about. And we brought these other people to explain. And your man turns out to be extremely problematic, illegal, etc. I wouldn't have gone if you hadn't said. So I'm like, how did you not know?
It's the same thing like this. If me and you are in business together and we own a McDonald's, right? And I say, hey guys, I appreciate Touré for this McDonald's. He really showed me how McDonald's works and I appreciate it. I'm just telling you guys, look at things outside of just regular, because this thing works at McDonald's, right? Now, if people hit you without me knowing and starts talking to you and you start doing things on the side, I have no clue about that. That's not my business. It's not. Like, I'm not part of those LLCs. I was never in those meetings. I had no clue whatsoever. Similar situation, Ja Rule in the fire situation.
And the fire.
Fire was the concert.
Oh, the fire festival.
The fire festival, right?
Yeah.
The guy, Billy, whatever his name was taking
McFarland,
people's money, didn't put things together. Ja Rule had no clue.
Right, he did, right.
Yeah, he had no clue. Now people say, well, why don't you have a clue?
Well,
I have the Breakfast Club. I have 6 kids. I have car shows. I
busy.
have my own thing. Me and his business was just seminars.
Yeah.
Outside of that, nothing. I was never part of anything that he did outside of that.
Did you, I assume you haven't spoken to him in a very long time because probably lawyer, like,
I haven't spoken to him in 2 years.
Don't fucking talk to him. What would you say to him if you could?
The first main thing, why? Why? You know, it's funny. When we were doing the seminars, and everybody would say, hey, I want to do this, I want to do that.
Yeah.
The first thing I told him was, never take a dollar from a person. And he said, why? And I said, the reason you never take a dollar from a person is because if it doesn't work out, you are the face.
Right.
If you invest in the stock market and you lose with Chick-fil-A, you don't know who's the owner of Chick-fil-A, you lose your money.
Right.
And he said, all right, cool. I'll never take a dollar from anybody. That was it. Me and him never had a conversation ever else again. Never knew, was never in the building, not on the LLC, never received a quarter, dime, nickel. And believe me, when I said I had to give up every last bank statement, every last IRS, every last email,
Yeah, of course.
every last text, every last cell phone, every last recording, they done went through my thing like a colonoscopy.
Of course.
Ups, ins, and out, and down. And there's a reason why I haven't been charged, because it doesn't exist.
Because they went through everything and they saw you didn't know.
Correct.
There was definitely a moment when I'm reading headlines and I'm like, I don't know if MB gonna make it through this. Just because I'm reading whatever, right? And you know, if you see this and that, was there a moment, even though you know, I know I'm solid, but we don't know we're gonna pull through a given situation. So there's a point where you were like, ooh, this is a tough one. I don't know if I'm gonna get through this one.
No. No. And the reason being is because I knew the truth. I knew the truth. And not only did I know the truth, they done went through all, I didn't had to give up everything. There was nothing that I did not give up or say, oh, no, you want the text? Here, take all my text messages.
Well, you
here's my
have
emails.
to.
Matter of fact, here's my phone.
You have to. I mean,
Correct.
You're not being benevolent. The government comes and says, we want to see your shit. You have to show them.
And I gave every agency all my information. My account information, everything.
Yeah,
it was nothing to hide.
Yeah.
It was never a thing of, oh, wait, no. Here,
Yeah.
take it all. So to answer your question, no. What bothered me was the public.
In terms of what?
This is what I realized how nasty social media is, right? Nobody cares about the truth when the lie is more entertaining, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I realized is people do things for their own selfish need, and I'll explain. After leaving here, I'll shoot a video and say, you know what? I was talking to Touré, and I realized Touré has a third arm that comes out his asshole. And it's true. And I seen it myself, and oh my gosh, this, that, and the other. That video will get 2 million views.
You're an idiot.
Right?
Why would that even come to your mind?
'Cause I'm just thinking something that's crazy. That video will get 2 million views.
Yes, it would.
Right? And we reward that. You know how we reward it? Because now when you get 2 million views on TikTok, you just made $2,000. So you're like, oh, tomorrow. You know what? I meant to tell y'all, when I left the Touré interview, him and his cameraman was kissing in the back. I seen it myself. That gets 4 million views. I just made another $3,000. So now I'm like, oh, this works.
So people understood we can cake up on envy.
It's not just envy. People cake up on making lies up. And people
Oh, so
follow
people
it.
were lying about
Yeah,
you?
absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, I feel like...
You know what the biggest lie was, which was really hurtful? And I never talked about this with anything. The biggest lie was when I seen a news network say that iHeart offices were raided and they took computers out.
And that never happened.
What computers would they take out of iHeart? Were they looking for Drake music? Were they looking for Mary J. Blige?
Well, they would be looking for conversations.
There is no conversation. It's like it's
you
a
know this-
radio station. And if we all know radio stations, the only thing in those computers are drops and music. Like, were they taking Kendrick's new album?
The
Like,
government doesn't know that.
no, but it never happened.
But they never asked you to testify against him?
I can't testify on something I don't know. I didn't know what was going on. I've never
but
seen
But they interviewed you.
No,
They would...
never.
You never had to give them a statement. Surely they had to say, what did you know? And you're like, I don't know anything. Do you know about this? No. Do you know about this? No. Do you know about this?
No. They asked me for all my information, my cell phone, my emails, my texts, my this, my that. Mr. Casey, do you know anything? No, I wasn't privy to any of that. I wasn't privy. Here's everything. I have no idea what he did, how he did it. I don't know.
Do you feel like he hurt your reputation?
Absolutely, positively. Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Because this is still in people's minds. And they don't
Yes.
fully understand what really happened.
Yes. And, I want you to really think about it. The reason we started seminars wasn't because of personal gain. The reason we started seminars is because I seen people going to seminars and they were paying $10,000 for a seminar, a $3,000 a seminar to actually learn something. And it bothered the shit out of me. And I was my way of thinking is I'd rather you take that $10,000 and invest it in something than to spend it on this seminar. So we started doing these seminars for $49 just to pay the venue back.
Right.
So
Because you said you weren't making money from the seminar.
No, the seminars started, but at first it was just a way to help people. Hey, let me bring all these people in and talk to y'all about this. So
Right.
you see another option. That's what it was for. It wasn't for anything else. So when you try to help people and say, look, I just want you to think outside of the normal things that you're doing. Think outside of spending all this money on your kid's 5th birthday party. Think outside of you buying this car. Think long term. That's what it was. And it really turned up and it backfired because I never took $1 from anybody. Not a quarter
You
nickel.
made nothing on the seminars.
No, the seminars was a business. Yes, we made money on seminars.
Okay. Even though it was only $50 to walk in
No,
the
it
door.
started off as $50.
Okay.
But as the venues got bigger, it was $99. But yeah, we did seminars, was profitable.
Okay.
But anything outside of that, no, we made no money off of it. I didn't make $1, quarter nickel off of
You're
anything.
saying you weren't doing deals based on the seminar.
I've never did a deal based off a seminar. I've never did it. There is nobody in their right mind that can say, me and Envy did this deal together to buy a house. Nothing.
Are you still in the deal with Caesar?
That school?
Yeah. Because
Yes.
you
Me and him, I still own a percentage of that school. But nothing is going. Right now he's in bankruptcy court and all that other stuff. But
yeah, because he's going to have to get out of that.
yeah,
I mean, we assume he's going to do time.
I would assume.
Are you angry with him?
Absolutely.
Would you like to beat him up outside of the legal ramifications of that? Like, is that how you feel? I want to
Yeah.
fucking kick your ass.
Absolutely.
You fuck my shit up.
Absolutely. You got to think, when you think somebody is doing something out of the kindness, out of the heart, and you found out on the side they're doing bullshit that you didn't know about it, and it puts your reputation into any type of bullshit, absolutely, positively. You know, people's whole thing is envy knew. And I tell everybody this, if I knew, would I give him $500,000?
Right.
If I knew?
Right.
If I knew, would I receive a dime, a quarter, a nickel, penny? Nothing. Nothing. This doesn't do anything but hurt me. So, to answer your question, I would love to drag them all up and down Patterson.
That is funny. I mean, yeah, I can understand the anger.
It's kind of like this. You're in business with somebody, right? What's one of the businesses that you're with somebody?
A business that I am far less diversified than you, but let's say a restaurant. Just for an example.
Right. And let's say your partner in the restaurant does some side shit that you know nothing about. And now you're the face. So they say, Touré's partner took my money. Touré's partner told me this. Touré's partner, now your name is getting dragged and stuff, and you're like, I have no idea what's going on. What do? Nothing you can do. You just got to sit in it and say, I'll wait for the facts to come out and the truth to come out. And you're going to get beat up. You realize who's your friends and who's not your friends. You realize who wanted to see you fall. You realize who wanted your job. You realize all that. And they're just beating you up and kicking you, and there's nothing you can do, but you just got to sit in it. And you just sit in it and you pray.
You sit in it and you pray. That's a lot to sit in. Because that's on your integrity.
Mm-hmm.
It's also on, like, I feel like a lot of people didn't think that you were corrupt, right? Like, just the person we know, we don't think that he's stealing. But we think that he was fooled, which goes to the notion of, like, was he as thoughtful in this situation as he could have been? You know what I mean? Like, that's I think that's where we come down. A lot of people come down on it.
Yeah. But I always tell people at the end of the day, we're our own men and women, right?
We make our own choices.
We make our own choices, right? And if somebody made a choice to work with him and I didn't even know, I had no clue, why am I blamed for it? Because I wasn't part of it.
I don't want to belabor the point because you've been very open about this. I think as a community, I think we expect. I would have seen the con man. So why didn't you see the con man? The con man can't pull his eyes, pull the wool over my eyes. So why is big smart Envy, who's got money, who's got businesses, how come he didn't see? He's street, right? You street smart, you aware? So how come you didn't see it? I think that would be the vibe. Not that he tried to steal my money, but how come you ain't see it? I would see the con man, how come you ain't see it?
Right. Which is the truth. But if I wasn't dealing within that world, how would I see it?
I wasn't with him when he was doing that.
So how would I see it?
When he was robbing people, I was not there. I didn't know about it. So how can I be responsible or it at all colored from, I know what she was doing when you weren't with me?
Even to you do it a step further, his assistant that was been with him for 15 years had no idea.
Really?
And she was the closest one to him.
Really?
So this assistant for 15 years had no idea, had no clue what was going on. How can somebody that doesn't see him every day, that doesn't speak to him every day, know anything?
That's a good point. If you have 6 kids, is it possible to not have a favorite?
Yeah, I don't have a favorite.
You don't have a favorite. Does Gia have a favorite?
She doesn't have a favorite.
You gotta have a favorite. It's gotta be one.
No.
I like them a little bit better. They're better. They're nice. They're good. They're easier. Is one easier than everybody else?
They all have different personalities.
Yeah.
So when I say, it's like when I go out, I love to take my daughter Madison. She's the oldest, 23. She is, if there's snow outside, she's the one that's gonna get the shovel and help me shovel. That's her.
Because she's the first one, or because
I think she's probably one of the closest to me, because she was the first. So if I'm going shopping, she's the one that's coming with me. If something doesn't sit right or fit right, she's gonna tell me immediately, Dad, that's just not it. She's that one. So my other kids, all my kids we do different things together. When I'm working out, my son.
Jackson.
No, Logan.
Okay.
The one that plays football for Miami.
Okay.
He's
on the team at
University.
Miami?
Mm-hmm.
What does he play?
He's a wide receiver.
Is he a starter?
No, he's not a starter.
He's second?
Yeah.
On the varsity?
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me for not knowing. That's big shit, though.
Number
Your
37.
son's a wideout at Miami? God damn.
Number 37, University of
You
Miami.
spent some time in the backyard throwing the football around.
Yeah, you know what? My kids work. Like, we play football. I had to buy the football machine when you put, because I'm not a football thrower. Yeah, because I don't know how to throw. I never played football as a kid like that. I played basketball. I played baseball. I swam. I played tennis. But he had to buy the machine, and he loves it. But when I say I work out with him, and that's why I hear what music is new. When I work out with Logan, I let him plug his phone in, and we work out together. And he's ripped. I'll show you a picture when we leave. He's ripped like crazy.
Is he taller than you?
No, he's not. He's 5'7", 5'8", about 5'8".
Isn't your wife taller than you?
No, my wife is 5'6". She wears 6-inch heels and puts it to my height. But
When I've seen her, I felt like she was taller than me, but I guess she's doing the super heels.
yeah, she wears 6
Your
inch
son's
heels.
not taller than you.
No.
Interesting. Because my child got taller than me. And
Really?
it's a lot when you are looking up
Wow.
and you're reaching up to hug them. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Your younger kids, some of them will be taller than you.
My son Jackson that you met, the doctor said he'll be around 6'4", 6'5". So he'll be tall. He's only 10 with that height. So he plays soccer. I'm trying to get him in basketball, but he plays soccer.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. What else you want to talk about?
No, that's it. My book, The Real Life, Real Family, and Real Life, Real Love, we really put those books out for people to understand and hopefully get some type of help and be able to start a conversation starter. With Real Life, Real Love is relationship conversation. Of course, Real Life, Real Family is a family conversation.
Yeah. No, I mean, a lot of the stuff that we are dealing with as family, my house is dealing with some of the same issues that you're dealing with, the next house. And to talk about it and be open about it is really powerful because, like, oh, they deal with the same shit. Just even knowing you deal with the same shit, I feel less bad because, like, this is the way humans interact. Like, this just happens. Like, it's fine.
It is. But I love to be able to have that conversation. That instruction manual we talked about earlier that most people don't get, this could be a guide to help somebody out on their journey.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Best of luck with it.
Thank you.
Yes. Hey, if you like what you saw today, be sure to check out more Touré Show content right here. Don't forget to click that subscribe button for more Touré Show content every week.